everybody and welcome back to the Jensory YouTube channel with me, Jen. I'm a special needs teacher if you're tuning in for the first time, and welcome to the Jensory YouTube channel. Today I'm talking about how to make, or more importantly how to use, a calm down or sensory bottle. So I'll put the resources needed for this very special chocolatey bottle on the screen now, and then we'll talk it through. So sensory bottles, as I've mentioned, have two names a lot of the time. So you might hear them called calm down bottles or regulation bottles, and you might hear them called sensory bottles. Now that is kind of because they are so versatile that you can use them with a multitude of different learners for different things. So we can use them as a great stimulus for learners with special needs or babies or toddlers to create focus and to help them watch things and look at things and hold things, but we can also use them as a regulation tool, hence the name calm down bottle. So essentially there's two key ways of using these bottles depending on the needs of your learner, and I'm going to talk about these two ways in a minute, but let's get cracking with making. Now, as this is a chocolate theme, essentially what we're making is a chocolate bottle. Now it's going to be slow moving, which is important if we're using it for self-regulation, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it's a really simple, easy bottle that's just going to create a really lovely visual stimulus. Now here's one that I've made earlier here, and it's already doing what we need it to do in creating these beautiful drips. Now the key to this is to not overfill it with water. The ratio of the chocolate powder to the water is really, really important to create the slow moving properties that we want and a bit of interest visually. So I've had to play around with the ratios for this to try and create the best mixture for the properties that we want to create, but as I say, have a go at home and just judge it and see if you want to add a little bit more powder or a little bit more fairy liquid or a little bit more water, depending on what yours is looking like. I'm using just an old bath bottle. Any bottle that you've got is going to be fine, but bear in mind you might have to adjust the mixture quantity if you've got a bigger bottle. So I've got my Nesquik chocolate powder here, one of my favourites to use in Messy Play. I've used it in Messy Mondays before, and what I'm going to do is add 8 teaspoons of this into a bottle of this size. Again, you might have to change the ratio depending on the size of your bottle, but I found that 8 works well with the amount of bubbles and the amount of water that we're going to add in. Okay, so now I've got my powder in the bottom. You'll see there is actually quite a lot of powder, but that is key to creating this nice thick chocolatey mix that we want. To that I'm going to squeeze in some fairy liquid. You want quite a lot of fairy liquid as well, because that's going to create the slow moving properties that we need. And then to that I'm just going to fill it with water, probably about to sort of a quarter or so. As you might be able to see, all of the bubbles are really slowly moving down the inside of the bottle now. Now when we're thinking about making calm down or regulation resources, the slow moving properties of it are going to be really key in trying to create something that's going to bring about calm. Now, a really important point that I want to mention about using these as calm down or regulation bottles is that actually you need to introduce these to learners or children when they are calm, and you actually need to educate them in them being used as a calming resource. Sometimes as educators or parents we just expect children to know that these are calming. And actually that's something that we need to teach them. Now you might look at it and think, oh, look at those bubbles moving so slowly down the inside of the bottle, isn't that calming? But at some point you had to learn that. And actually if you've got children or learners with autism who have meltdowns quite frequently, that's going to be an even harder skill for them to potentially understand. So it's really important to use these as a happy, positive resource with your child or learner when they are calm and regulated. And you can talk to them about, oh, look, bubbles, slowly watching bubbles, and then they get used to the fact that you're actually introducing this as a positive thing. So when they are in a state of flux or a state of meltdown, this is a more familiar resource to them, and they can start understanding how to better regulate themselves. Now, I will mention, however, that if you've got a child or learner in that really high point of a meltdown, giving them a bottle is not necessarily going to work. They're beautiful, but they're not magical. However, I find that sometimes bringing your calm into that situation and having these resources to hand can really help sometimes. So maybe keeping your distance, but sitting there and talking to them about that dialogue that you had with them when you were doing it with them when they were in a calm state can sometimes just be a really nice regulator. So if you're just sitting somewhere in proximity of them, depending on your learner or your child, and sitting with the bottle and kind of going slowly, oh, it's very, very slow, isn't it? And all of those kind of words and that kind of script. And even just you modelling, looking at the bottle and turning it really, really slowly up and down can sometimes zone a learner in to something that actually is soothing and is calming. And actually sometimes it's about us bringing our calm to them when they're in that state. And do persevere with using resources like this. They do take a lot of time to actually educate children with how to properly use them. And I hear educators and parents say all the time, oh, I made them a calm down bottle, but they didn't use it. But actually the onus is on us as adults to instruct them and help them understand how to use these most effectively. I hope they've been helpful. I think they're absolutely beautiful as a resource on their own, whether you're using them as a sensory stimulus or as a regulation tool. They are so lovely to look at, and they've got a really lovely oozy, chocolatey, again, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory feel to them. I'll see you on Friday for a really lovely Charlie and the Chocolate Factory themed musical sing-along. So I hope you can join me then for that. If you liked today's video, please do give it a thumbs up down at the bottom and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. Take care, and I will see you on Friday ready for some musical fun. Bye!